everybody, and welcome to the Large Scale Consolidated live show, the show that we hold bi-weekly. And also welcome Andrew from MrPictovid. Well, how are we doing this morning? Or this evening, that is.
Good grief.
Yeah.
My brain's already scrambled enough. Now you're going to mess it up even more.
Why not?
Why not, right? Yeah.
Why not?
I'm doing great this morning, which, I guess if our friend Paul Carr in Australia is watching, it is Sunday morning right now, I believe, is it not?
Yeah, it's morning somewheres.
Yeah. This depends on the part of the earth you're on.
Yeah. So let's look through the live chat and we'll recognize some people here. And looks like we got Train Finder Craig.
Train Finder Craig?
Train Finder Craig is here.
All right.
Yeah. So he's got his own YouTube channel, so check him out. We have Stay Loaded, Dave's Trains and Automobiles, Canadian Railroads. We got Jack Twaddle. And then we have, and I'm scrolling through here, Cody Reisinger. And then we got Joseph Lipinski of the New Hampshire Garden Railway Society. And then scrolling through some more, stick with me here. We have Nuke 111. He was our guest at one time. Steve is his name, correct, Andrew?
Yeah, don't forget the A in sorry after that. He's Canadian, remember.
Oh. He's Canadian. Joshua Sanders. Paul Torres, G-Scale Trains. He says, good evening, guys. And then we have, and if I miss your name, I'm sorry, because I'm going through this kind of quickly so we can get our show started. And then scrolling through, Timothy Kennard, John E., Indoors G-Gauge. Then we have Kenny Kincaid. And I'm pretty sure that's my scroll stopped working there. Here's one I always can't get right. Kyle Kuiper. See, I got it right this time, huh? Bruce Morrill. And if anybody bet against me, I think I should get a percentage. Ethan Armitage. I guess I'm saying that right. So that might be another one I might be wrecking. So we got Krista Dempsey, and once again, if I'm wrecking your name, pretty well known for it. Just ask anybody. Train Brothers Railway. Hello from Canada, another Canadian person. Nick's Crossing. Hey Nick, how's it going? I actually met Nick at a get together, meet and greet. And then we have Vincent. I'm not even going to. Vincent, I'm sorry. I'm not even going to try and say your last name. No way. We got Taya Capel Woods from the BTO. If you can't, if you go to G Scale shows, they're usually there. Harry Young and
who's Harry Young?
And then we have Heath from Human City Junction. He just showed up, and he says, "Hello, Ed McBam," and "Hello, MrPictovid." So, and so, we have a guest we want to bring up. So let's go ahead and bring him into our show.
Okay. Oh, there he is.
And welcome aboard, Darrin Warren.
Hey, everybody. Honored to be on the show. Looking forward to it. Two things I'm concerned about. This is episode 13. That doesn't make me feel too comfortable.
Oh, you caught on to that, did you? I didn't want to say anything.
And the second bad thing is I hate to follow Harry Young. That's a tough that's a tough show to follow.
So, Darrin, you're going to talk to the viewers a little bit about yourself and the club and stuff. So let's get started, and we'll kick off the show with asking you a little bit about you and how you got into G-scale trains.
All right. Well, I've since I was a little kid, I always liked trains and had all kinds of different trains. But probably sometime in the mid '80s, we had a store in our mall called McKinsey Square, and they sold real top of the line stuff. Everything was super expensive in there. It was kind of unusual stuff from like all over the world. They had a small G scale section, and I think that pretty much everything was European almost at the time. There wasn't a whole lot of American made stuff. So, I put that on my Christmas list and asking, and finally I got it, So I actually, let me see if I can turn this screen the right way. If you see it right down here, this is my first ever train, G scale. That's from 1980, probably 84 there, right here. Still runs like a charm. Not much more maintenance than lubrication, and it works good. And then from there it was like just buy 2 more pieces of track, and that's enough. Now 2 more. Well, if I had a couple curves, I can, do this. And now I need another car. Got to get some people, and then you get rooms like this before you know it. So that's kind of where I got started at, and I even had my own train company for a while, Warren's Trains, and it was a transient G-scale company. So I just set up the train shows.
A transient G-scale company?
Yeah, transient means it just goes from place to place. That's all that means.
I just never kind of heard it said that way. That caught me off guard. I'm like, a transient G-scale.
That's my word of the day. So, but I'm not settled on just G scale. I like all different scales. I appreciate what can be done with each scale. And I have model railroads from T scale, which is 450 or 450 to 1. And then I have 7.5 gauge ride-on trains too. So I have about a half-mile track in my yard, and I have some of those trains. But I'm not going to get too much into that because we're going to focus on G scale today. But here's a quick picture of my T scale layout. The whole layout is 18 by 24. So it's all in a shadow box, opens, closed. But those are actually electric running trains in there.
Now, what I wanted to ask about this is, if you wanted to model a garden railroad on your G scale, would this be the appropriate size for that, Darrin?
I don't think so. I think Z works, but I don't know. I'd have to write down the scale numbers. I'm not really sure.
But just for a quick comparison for people, if you're wondering what a T scale tractor looks like.
Yeah, that's like the smallest thing I've ever painted in my life. And it's not perfect, but I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we're going to have a contest and see if Dakman can paint a T-scale tractor with no glasses. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that wouldn't go over well with me because, first of all, look at the size of my hands.
This is true.
So there's no way I could handle something that small.
Well, that was in tweezers, and I use big magnifiers. Almost work strictly from that.
I almost need magnifiers just to write something. Do something that small. But all right, so you want to talk a little bit about your the Riverside Club?
Yeah, I really want to talk about that. This club we started in 2002 is when we got together. I think Andrew might have a picture there.
Yeah, I'm browsing here real quick.
We actually got together, a group of us, at the Scope Senior Center in Warren, Ohio, and we looked out their window, and they had this place where they had a garden club. And this is kind of a little bit of that garden club. Those are bird houses, not G-scale houses. But we looked, and the flower club or the gardening club, they kind of let it go and they let it grow over, and they weren't really too active in it. So we approached the director at the time and events coordinator. Her name is Anita, and her husband Larry. They were pretty instrumental in making it all happen, and we were able to start clearing that out. And some of the other pictures, I think we're going to run maybe a video or two. Andrew's going to run.
Yeah, let's see here. I know we had. Let's see. This is when you guys first started clearing it out, right?
This is one of our breaking days right here.
And of course, I guess I'll say sorry for the quality of the pictures, but these are kind of rather old pictures.
And these were pictures of a picture, and you know, they were kind of glossy, and best I could do. short notice. Remember, I wasn't supposed to be on for 2 more weeks, so I thought I had more time. So this is doing some of the construction, some of the ballasting. We learned a lot over the years. We put stuff down, we changed it, we did it differently, and we got a great set of club members, and we have some club members that's been with us since the beginning. I think Danny Houston, Mike Zader, Nick, those guys have been with us, you know, from the onset.
Yeah, I'm trying to locate the video I was going to pull up here for you. So you'll have to give me a moment here.
Yeah. Andrew was part of our club for a while and helped out with it. And Harry Young, that was on last week, him and his wife done a lot for planting some landscaping and made some real nice stuff happen. So, you know, when it's a club, it's all about a teamwork. Everybody's got their specialties and everybody works together. And we had a very, very large layout. It was all outside, which over the years, we kind of, it got a little hard. You know, it was a hard maintenance, and the bigger we got it, the more it took. We lost members, and it took a lot of. We did till the very end, and then the Scope Senior Center actually closed, and they moved. They closed this building and they moved to another building. And prior to that, we had decided we were going to do some modular layout, and there was a train club, Northern Ohio Garden Railroad, that was getting rid of a modular, and they sold it to us very cheap. And these were the pieces of the modular after we had painted it and relayed track on it. But we had decided to go mobile. So in between moving from our outdoor club to our indoor club, we actually went to like the Trumbull County Fair, and we'd set up in their agricultural building. And I'm sorry, it was their educational building. It's not important, but we'd set up there. We got a little video of that one too. Whenever if you want to show any of those videos.
Sorry, you're gonna have to give me another moment here, Darrin.
I have the.
Do you have it queued up to share?
I do.
Okay.
If you let me share my desktop, I'll run this one.
Sure.
All right. That would be screen. How that looks. All right. So this was actually at the Trumbull County Fairgrounds. I think this is the first time we ever set this modular system up.
Oh wow!
I think you're right.
I like my circus stuff. I actually have 4 complete Wilson Brothers sets. Plus, I have the Ferris wheel. I got all the extra stuff that came with it, and I like military too. So if you look up here behind me, I got a lot of military vehicles, and I got 2 U-25Bs. We might find a video of that later. We'll see.
Yeah, you and Craig Weaver would get along pretty well because
Yeah.
Craig Weaver is the same way. He likes circus and military, and he would always display one or the other at the East Coast Large Scale Train Show.
Oh yeah, I've seen his stuff. It's really nice. He does a lot of custom stuff. So a lot of these buildings that we used to set this up was our like own buildings. So that green building right there, I made that out of Colorado models. I think they're not with us anymore at the moment.
No,
but I made that out of Colorado model pieces. And that's actually sitting right over here in the corner of my room. It's over behind some trains. So anyway, that's it. It's just a quick one because we got a lot to cover tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
I do have, I did find the video here for what we were looking for.
Cool. All right. So this is, this was our outdoor layout.
Let's see here. So wants to cooperate with me here.
We were there from 2002. We were there from 2002 to 2016. So we were there for 14 years.
Let's see.
That probably looks like a Harry train there, I think.
Is that the video I was looking for, Darrin, or is that a different one that you found?
I think this was a newer one, but that's okay. It gives an idea. Yeah, I don't even remember seeing this one. I have no idea whose train that is.
That makes 2 of us.
Joseph says more military. Here she is. So we got a new viewer, Rachel. Welcome aboard. Oh, I see there's a custom run Southern Pacific reefer in that train.
Yeah, do you know where that came from?
Well,
you used to own it.
Oh. I don't recognize some of my stuff.
I thought a father never forgot his children, you know.
So a lot of times these videos were from our open houses. We would do about 4 a year. We took donations and kind of used that. We do have dues for the club. They're relatively cheap. It's like $36 a year. And we use that to, of course, maintain the railroad, buy new stuff for the railroad.
So there's a good question. From Train Finder Craig.
So what is type trains that lets them
There we go.
And thrive outside? Yeah, that is a good question. They actually, most of them, at least the better trains are, they're painted with UV paint. They use a lot of things that don't rust in very important places. Stainless steel or something like that. So I wouldn't run them in the rain or that kind of stuff, but we've got caught in the rain before with them. We get cloud bursts and stuff, but that's what I know about it. The actual paint is UV, so the sun doesn't tear it up too much.
I do have
And
one
they're pretty,
question.
they're kind of big. They're hardy.
Yeah. But I got a question for Andrew.
Yeah.
How many of those trains in that Rio Grande train did come from me? I mean, a lot of that does look familiar.
Probably all of it. if I had to think about it. I mean, I'm not the owner of it at the current moment, but I'm pretty sure just about all of it came from you, except for maybe minus a couple pieces.
What you'll notice is the majority of our ground is stone covered. We didn't do a lot with plants.
It was a limestone jungle, that's for sure.
It was.
Let's see here. So I think I do have a video pulled up for when we went inside. Let's see here.
So what happened is the building that we were in is actually owned by the city of Warren. It wasn't owned by the senior center. And
the city of
Warren? Yeah, the city of Warren owned it. And
okay.
They decided to sell it to a developer that wanted to build, who was a big developer in Warren. He's done a lot of stuff for Warren. And he wanted to put a winery in there. And but there's a picture I might show later, or if we pull it up, of the latest director of Scope. His name's Mike Wilson. And Mike Wilson was probably the most supportive person that we've ever had at Scope. And what he did was a building for them to get, but it had to have space for the railroad club. And he was pretty adamant about that. And so we ended up with this very nice, large room that we were able to build a railroad. Well, we had that modular system that we used. So we decided just to make that modular permanent. So we put it in there, bolted it up. When this video's over, I think Andrew's got a couple pictures of that room and setting it up.
Now, yeah. Kyle is asking, is this brass, aluminum, or stainless that's on this layout?
That is brass.
Brass? It's all brass track?
We used all brass in this.
Okay.
Yep. Just well weathered. It's like I said, it was out there for 14 years. So, and it always worked well. Some of our club members run battery, some run track power, some run track power, remote control. Yeah, that's another picture of the at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, we have a viewer on board the Bora Zador. And the Bora, we have a viewer on the Bora Zador saying that most of the club members run their own motive power, usually battery power.
That's correct. I'm not sure if that's Deborah or if that's Mike hacking in with Deborah's account.
That would be my guess. So I know we did the fair a couple different years, Darrin. Do you know, was this first or second year? I think it's the second year, isn't it?
This
we didn't
the second year. Yeah, because I had done the model
first year.
Yes, which
yeah.
The plexiglass came very shortly after Mike Zader's aristo-craft passenger set run off the side of the railroad, and we spent a lot of times picking up all his pieces so he could rebuild his train. And we got fiberglass after that. Yeah, it was bad. We were all like, mouth hanging open.
Well, how did that happen? Because I've seen many uh,
It was
shows
just
where they don't have the plexiglass and nothing usually happens.
a derailment. That's all. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
a freak thing.
Right.
Yeah, that Dodge it wrapped around a tree. That's actually in our indoor layout. He's actually pulled over by the police. He's always getting in trouble. That guy in that Dodge, that Challenger.
He's always getting in trouble. Huh?
No matter what layout's on, he's in trouble. So what's interesting is a lot of these pieces. The 1 year, each club member or pair of club members got a module. They got a section of it, and it was their job to decorate that section of it. And so that way, everybody only focused on one thing.
Those trees on there look pretty realistic. Yeah, whoever did the decorating, the trees look pretty realistic on here.
Do you still have a video running on your end, Darrin?
I do.
Yeah, you might want to pause that for the moment. I think it might be causing us some issues.
Yeah, I'm narrating the video that I'm playing, and it isn't the video that you're watching.
I'm like
You
listening to you, and I'm like, what are we talking about here,
You
Darrin?
gotta love the 13th, right? Yeah. So now I'll narrate the correct one. Yeah, these are kind of some early pictures. Now everywhere where you see the where you can actually see the bench work there, that's all been decorated now. Scenery.
Those are MDC hoppers, aren't they?
MDC or Pico. I believe it's a mix of them.
Yeah, I recognize the silver ones. The silver ones, I'm pretty sure, are MDC. I recognize that caboose too.
Well, while we're watching this, Andrew and Sean's been plugging our upcoming G Scale show.
Oh yeah.
So that's all. It's down at the bottom, scrolling across every once in a while. So yeah, July 10th. We're going to be having a show, and it's the first in our area that's just all G scale. We did it kind of in the idea that happened with York, and we didn't initially think we were going to be like big as York, but we just wanted to do a G scale flea market, so everybody come. That's all they're looking at is G scale, and
okay.
And so we have we're going to have 40 tables set up. We will have our railroad running, so it's going to be in the same building, just upstairs. They have a gigantic room upstairs.
And will you have any layouts that would be open to the public to see as well, or just the show itself?
Just the show itself. As we get going, if we find it's going to be annual, we definitely would look at maybe doing a tour of shows. There's tour of layouts.
Say tour of shows. That's
we talked about a lot of. Yeah, that's probably expensive. We wanted to just see how this first one goes over. So again, tell everybody, if anybody's in the area, come check it out. If it's something we could make annually, that's really what we want to do. We sold the tables real cheap, $10 a table. It's only $5 to get in, so there's a lot of stuff for sale.
How many people do you have signed up so far?
For tables, we got we're closing in on probably 28 tables. I think we got about 12 or maybe 14 tables left. And then if we do get some last minute people, we got some other areas where we might be able to squeeze in a few more people. but we are kind of running out. We only got 12 tables left.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So,
all right, Andrew.
We can. I know you had a couple things prepared for us as well, Darrin, for some how-to stuff, right?
Yeah. Before we move on, Train Brothers is asking where you guys are out of. So Andrew's yeah, go ahead.
We're out of Warren, Ohio. Youngstown's a little bit bigger. People hear a little bit more about Youngstown, but we're only you can drive down 422 and leave Warren and go into Youngstown and not even think you left the same town. They're that close, and they kind of meld into each other. Yeah, it's pretty easy to get to from anywhere. We're halfway between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, so we got some half Browns fans, half Steeler fans. I won't say what I am till after the ratings come out for the show. I'll lose half the rating. Yeah, so these tutorials, I'm going to do a couple tutorials. And what I found out was RailPro, their manuals are very, very good. They're very descriptive. They tell you exactly what you need to know. But there's pieces that they just leave out. And they make the assumption that everybody knows how to use a computer or everybody knows how to use, a little bit of software. And they just tell you, well, you can do this and you can do that, but they don't tell you how. So I kind of thought I'd fill in that gap on a couple things and show you if just anybody has a basic Windows computer that these are things they could do on it for zero cost. Both of these tutorials don't cost anything. They are focused towards RailPro though. And I have RailPro, I have AirWire, I set up some Blue Toms. I forgot to bring my one up. I actually made my own decoders for a while. I found an article in an old either model railroad or
oh yeah, I remember you doing those.
Yeah, the Garden Railroad. I actually made my own a couple times. And
didn't you have to solder like surface mount fuses on those?
Oh yeah, that was as bad as painting those tractors, those T-scale tractors.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yep, and I got Revolution too. I got a couple of locomotives that have that. So I kind of have it all. So I'm not, not plugging RailPro is the only thing. But anyway, so today I like the technical side of the hobby. So, and I got a little project that I did. I'm going to show you guys after these videos.
All right, you ready for me to go into the first one here, Darrin?
Sure. Let's watch one.
All right.
All right. For our first workshop tonight, we're going to look at finishing up our RailPro locomotive. So what I got here sitting on the bench, kind of took a picture of it here. So it's sitting here and it's a nice SD40 that I've got the RailPro installed, all the lights are working, everything works in it perfectly. So next thing, I needed to connect it to the RailPro handheld. So I followed all of RailPro's instructions, which, by the way, are really good. And so I've got my controller here. When I turn it on, look for a locomotive. I've already set it up following their instructions. And there's my SD40. It was already all set up before this video. So this is good. Problem is, I don't want to use this picture right here that looks like, a locomotive. Is definitely not SD40. Plus, it's not the right color. It's not the right road name. It's, just not what I want. So RailPro gives you a couple options. They talk a bit in their manual about taking an image from a digital camera, which I could see that'd be really popular. if you want to actually take a picture of your actual locomotive, which is pretty cool. But maybe you're not a photographer, so you don't want to do that. The other option they give you is to go to their website and download the specific locomotive that you want. But again, you kind of get limited on what they have on there. And their instructions for both of those are really good. Okay. So what I'm going to show you how to do is use some free software that is on any Windows 10, think of 8, maybe 7. Some of the Microsoft Paint that we're going to use, that goes all the way back to Windows 3.1 or something like that. It's a really old program, but we're going to use that today. I'll show you some neat tricks with it. Okay, so I'm done with my handheld right now because the first step of this is I need to go out to the internet and get the picture I want. So it doesn't matter what browser you're using. If you're using Edge, if you're using Chrome, using Firefox, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use Edge in this case. So I'm opening up Edge, and I'm going to just type right in the title what I'm looking for. I had typed this before, so it happens to be right there. So I'm not actually going to touch the keys there. I'm going to click on, this is what I'm looking for, CSX SD40-2. Specifically USA Trains, if I could find exactly that model. That'd be nice in the pictures. So you see when I first did it, it brought me a few pictures, but then it brought a bunch of other stuff, some videos and then articles and all that. I am only looking for pictures. So I'm going to come up here and actually click in my search right here where it says images. Now it's going to limit me to just pictures. I can even take the search down farther because, I don't know, I'm not looking for an HO scale specifically or just any SD40 or Union Pacific. I'm actually looking for this one, the CSX SD40. So I'll click on that. And I start getting all these pictures that I could use. I look at this picture. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff in the background. It's ugly. These aren't quite the right paint scheme here. This is only just a body. I don't like that. Kind of like this picture right here. This is kind of nice, but I'm here, so I'm going to go down and see if there's any additional pictures that might turn out okay. Let's see. Here we go. I like this picture right here. Nice white background. That'll be good for being able to view it really good in the handheld. I'm actually going to click on it and see if it brings it up a better picture. It does. Sometimes clicking on it takes you to a website. Sometimes it takes you to a picture that has stuff all over it and it's not really what you want. But I like this right here. It looks really good. So I'm going to use our first piece of software to snip this little picture right out of here so I can use it. Now, you can right click a picture and just save it. Problem is you get everything. You're getting all this white space, and if there's anything else attached to the picture, you get that too. So I'm not going to use that. I actually want to take just a snip of that picture the way it is. So I'm going to come down here where it says type here to search in Windows. You can go through your start menu too, but I'm going to type right here snip, S-N-I-P. And there is a tool called the snipping tool. When I click on it, it's going to bring me a little piece of software up. And what I want to do is a brand new snip. So I'm going to click on new. At this point, I can come out to the screen. I can put my crosshairs with the mouse right where I want them, hold the mouse button down, and drag it all the way to the other side of the locomotive, get all of it in there I want, and let go. And there your tool has just snipped that image out and put it into your little piece of free software. At this point, inside Snippet, there's some actual things you can do in here. You could grab some markers, you could highlight. There's a little bit of things you can do in here, but all we wanted to use the snipping tool for is to grab that picture off there. So at this point, I'm just going to make a copy of this picture. And I do that by clicking this copy button. Now I'm going to use my second piece of software that's already in Windows, and that is Paint. So if I come down here and I actually just type P-A-I-N-T, there it is, the Paint app. So I'm going to click on that. Now this is an important part because Paint is the one that's going to help us get that picture into the format that it needs to be to go into a RailPro controller, and it's very specific, and I'll cover those in just a minute as we do that. So at this point in time, I'm going to paste that picture I made a copy of. So if you remember, back here I hit copy, right here, these two buttons, or this one button with the two sheets of paper. Now I'm going to come over here and click paste, and that locomotive will drop into our canvas, which is our white space right here to paint on and do editing and all that kind of stuff. Now, I find it easier if I shrink this image down first before I start setting the specific variables so that this can go into the RailPro controller. So I'm going to shrink this down. There's a couple ways to resize this. If you grab these little sizing handles that are around the edge of the picture, you can see one here. It shows the arrows going left and right. You see one here where the arrows go diagonal, and you'll see one here, arrows go up and down. If I click on this one, only thing I can do is make it wider, or I can make it narrower. If I click on this one, I can make it taller, or I can make it shorter just by clicking and dragging. The corner one will let me do both at the same time. So since I'm really not worried about keeping what's called the aspect ratio to make sure that it stays perfectly in scale, I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to shrink this picture down a little bit. And don't worry, because we can always make it bigger again when we want to. Now I need to set all this white, this canvas, that's what we're going to call this canvas area where I can paint on. I need to set this to a very specific size for RailPro. And their size is 480 pixels by 180 pixels. Now, pixels doesn't really matter. All kind of think of pixels as a dot. That's all. They're just dots. So I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to come down to Properties. Now in here, I can size this canvas to inches, centimeters, or pixels. So because we need very specific pixel amount, that's what we're going to leave it on, is pixels. Down here, it's in my case, it's set to 1,000. I want to change that to 480. And then over here for height, I want to change that to 180. And then when I click OK, it's going to size that to exactly what I needed. In this case, I kind of did not make my locomotive small enough, so it cut off the bottom. So I'm going to fix that first. I'm going to show you how to fix that real quick. I'm going to undo my change to my canvas. I'm going to draw a square around my locomotive again. So I put my crosshairs at one corner. I'm going to click and drag my mouse, drag it up over there. And since I knew it kind of cut this off, I'm going to raise this up a little bit by using the one that makes it shorter. We're going to see how that does. So now I've made that change to that locomotive. I'm going to come back up here to File, Properties. I'm going to go back to 480 by 180. And we're going to hit OK. That fits in the picture good. I like that. If you wanted to stretch it out some more, you could do that same thing again. You could draw that square around that picture, just like that. And it looks like I could drag it a little bit more this way to take up a little bit more of the screen. And at that point, I'm pretty close to the edges right there. I really don't want to do it any closer than that. Now, you might look at it and go, oh, it's starting to distort a little bit. That'll happen, but the RailPro controller does not have a high pixel rated display. So it's not really going to be that crystal clear on your display anyway. So as long as you got the basic and you can identify that, so it's the locomotive you're looking for. I'm another reason why I like to use the ones with the white backgrounds. So even if you're doing with a digital camera, it's a good idea to put something white behind it, because it'll just stand out better on your controller. Okay, so we have it to the right size. This is the size that RailPro needs it. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to save this image so that we can do the next step, which is to take it and put it into the RailPro software. And then from the RailPro software, we'll go on to the controller. And then from the controller, we'll assign it to the locomotive. And we'll do each one of those steps today. Up here at File, we're going to save this. Now, the first thing it wants to know is where do you want to save it to? So to keep this simple, I'm going to come right down. I've got all these different places I could save it in. You know, I got on my computer, I got OneDrive, I got Dropbox, I got all these folders and all that. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to go down to where it says this PC, and I'm looking for the C drive. With few exceptions, just about every computer has a C drive. So we're going to go right there. I'm going to click on the C drive. Now I want to actually create a folder, because at this point, this is where I'm going to put all my pictures. I'm going to put them in the C drive in a folder, and I'm going to call it RailPro. So up here, I'm going to click on the button that says New Folder. I'm already in the C drive. That's why it's highlighted there. I'm going to click New Folder, and I'm going to call this RailPro. I'm going to hit Enter. I'm going to double click to open up that folder. Now I can see up here at the top, I'm at the C drive in the RailPro folder. This is where I'm going to put my pictures. Now I'm going to name the picture. I'm going to name this one CSX SD40-2. You could put the your number in there too, but it's actually only going to be your picture. It really is not going to display anywhere what that is. So here is the next most important part of getting a picture into a RailPro. That is, it has to be a BMP or bitmap file. So you have to make one more change down here. Right now it's trying to put it as a PNG file or PNG file. I'm going to drop down this box so I can see all the choices. These are all the different ways that Paint allows you to save into different formats. So you notice there's a couple here called BMP. 1, 2, 3. There's actually 4 of them that are BMP. RailPro is very specific. It has to be the 24-bit. So up here you have the monochrome bitmap. That's just the 2 colors, 16 colors, 256 colors, and 24-bit. I don't know. I think 24-bit is 16 million colors or something like that. Not important, but this is the one you have to pick right there. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to hit Save. At this point, that picture is sitting in a folder on my computer. I pulled it off the internet. I've used Snippet to grab the picture. I used Paint to size it and turn it into the right type of format. So I am done with Paint. I am done with that snipping tool. Nope, don't want to save that picture. Already did that. I'm done with the internet. So I can close my browser. And that is the first step. Now that we've got our image inside our computer, we are now going to use our RailPro Assistant software to get the image from our computer into the RailPro Assistant software. So this is the next step. So I'm going to open up the RailPro Assistant software. And in here, the top row is for when you're actually trying to get something from RailPro and you're going right to their website. You can use these buttons up here. When you're getting it from your own computer, like we did since we have that image that we made, or we got ready, we are going to come down here and select that option. Pictures from the computer. Now, we have to import that picture. So we're going to click on import. Now, if you see these pictures that are in here, these are ones I've already did. And if you see the little CF beside them, that means that's something that you did. You didn't just go get it from their website. If you see this, like this ARR ST70, this was one that I downloaded from RailPro, so you don't see the CF on it. So I'm going to click on import. And if you remember where we put them, we put it in C, RailPro. If this wasn't where we were at, you would have to kind of browse to that. You can use this arrow here to go back and forth for different directories. And remember, we created the RailPro directory, so we're looking in there. And there was only one image in there, and that's the one we had. So I'm going to click on that image, and that's it. So it's here. When I exit that page, click on pictures, you'll see that it's now right there. Now that it's in the software, I need to get it to the handheld. Once it's in the handheld, I can assign it to locomotive. Now, this is all explained very well in the manual. So I'm going to kind of go a lot faster here. I don't want to waste a lot of time. You guys can look at the manual. So I'm going to click and add it. Now, at the moment you can see USB X, there's no handheld connected. So at this point, before you go any farther, you have to actually make sure your handheld is connected. So you plug the USB from your computer into the side of the handheld controller, the HC1 or 2 they call it. So I'm going to use my simulated one, the HC simulator. So I'm going to open that up. And notice as soon as I opened it, it now shows that there's a handheld connected. So that's good. Now I'm going to, and this down here tells you, go to the update software page on the handheld controller to do the loading of the files. So I'm going to turn my controller on. I'm going to come here, like they said, the software update is under tools. So I'm going to click on tools, then software update. And then this is the big button up here I want to use. I want to get things from the USB, that's your cord that you plugged into your computer, to the handheld controller, the HC. So when I click on that, you'll see the file start to transfer. You'll see it over here that the handheld controller is loading the picture. Please wait. And for a picture, it doesn't take very long to get a picture in there. And that's it. When this says ready and all this comes back, the picture is now in the handheld controller. So really, we do not need the RailPro software, assistant software anymore. There's something I want to tell you guys. I fought with this, getting my first image into here over and over. I couldn't get it. I actually had to turn my virus protection off for a second. So in my case, I was using AVG, so I had to come down here, go to my AVG protection, and you see it says not protected because I have to turn it off for this action to take place. Then I could turn it back on. So if you have that problem where you're clicking, you know you've done everything right, it's not going in there. Check your firewall settings to allow for the RailPro website to be accessed, and if you're doing their files. If you're doing your own, I don't know why it sees it as a virus threat, but it possibly does, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't pop up or anything saying it's a virus threat. That's why it took a long time to troubleshoot. But turning the virus protection off works. So hopefully that saves you a lot of time if that's an issue with you. So now I'm going to close this. I don't need the RailPro Assistant. All I need is my handheld controller. Okay. At this point, I need to copy a file from my handheld to the actual locomotive. So when I click copy file, it's telling me right here from the handheld to a product. So I need to select a product. Now the only product I got is this one. You have to turn it on. You got to make sure your locomotive or whatever product you're putting it into is actually connected. If you click on this, it'll just tell you it's not connected. Mine should be connected, so I'll click on it. And obviously it came up, so it's okay. And it says, what file do you want to copy from the handheld to your locomotive? Oh, I want to copy that picture. So when I click on that picture, and I look here, and it's this bottom one. Now, I'll also tell you something that's kind of weird is when you get into a second page, where you got so many pictures in here, it goes on to the next page. And you click next page, the screen goes away for a minute and you wonder what's going on. And then just give it a few seconds and the screen will come back and you'll be on page 2 in case that's where your picture is. So I'm going to click on this one here. That's the one I want. And now it's taking it from the handheld and putting it inside the locomotive. Kind of takes about the same amount of time, maybe a little bit more. It's actually going through the air on this. It's not physically connected to my computer, or to my handheld, I mean. So we just give it a second, and any day now, and all right. And once it's done, your progress bar will be all the way up, and we can exit the page at that time. And we can exit that. Now, the picture is actually inside the locomotive now. But when I click on locomotive, I still don't see it. That's because it's in there, but you could actually have multiple pictures of the locomotive in there. So I'm going to click on this now, and then I'm going to come over here to the locomotive tools. Again, this is step by step in the manual. You know, if you can read the manual, you'll be fine with that. But since we're here, we're going to finish it up. So we're going to click on that. And then right here is a picture. It says touch to select. So I'm going to click on the actual locomotive itself, and all the locomotives all the pictures that are in that locomotive will show up. And we only have 2. One's the generic one, the blue one that says ring, and the new one that we put it in. So I'm going to click on that one. There's our new picture right here. I'm hitting save. I always hit save more than once. I don't know. It's just a habit. And now when I exit the page, there is my locomotive right there. Got the locomotive, the file name on it. I'm sorry, the locomotive description on it, so I can see what it is. So now I exit the page. So if I come here to locomotives from this point on, I will actually see the picture of that locomotive that we snipped from the internet, put it in the right format using Paint. We pulled it into the controller, put it in the software, then to the controller, then to the locomotive, and we picked it from the locomotive. Kind of sounds like it's a lot of work, but once you've done it like 3 or 4 times, it's like click, 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 and it's done. All right, so I'm going to shut this controller off, and that is it for that.
All right. I believe that was the end of that one for now, wasn't it, Darrin?
That is correct. That's the end of that one.
All right. Let me drop that down. I guess, does anybody have any questions or comments on what Darrin showed us on that?
I've been watching.
After watching that again, I really did get the connection, that the happy engine stuff and the Bob Ross stuff. I wish I would have just went ahead and done the Bob Ross stuff. That was great. I was cracking up when we were putting that up there.
Yeah, the comments were in good fun, it seems. So I figured, why not throw them up there?
I was cracking up. It was hilarious.
No, I thought you did a really good job of explaining it, Darrin. It definitely seems like you have to. You can't just throw any file up there and expect it to work. Because I know I had one person asking me how to add the pictures, and since I obviously don't have one in front of me to look at it, I really couldn't tell them. But in the computer age, I guess I just kind of assumed you could just select whatever picture you wanted and just upload it to the remote. But you very much so have to format it the right way.
Yeah.
Taya, sorry about that. Taya is asking, how long have you been using the RailPro system?
Actually, I have not been using it that long. I actually, Cody Reisinger was the one that kind of showed me the first capabilities of RailPro, and it's been around for a while. But I don't know what triggered me, 6 months or a year ago, and I said, you know, I like this. I like what I can do. I like the little gaddy stuff. Mine, you know, I was a huge Phoenix sound man. You know, I love the Phoenix. I love what it does. But over and over, I asked them, how can I put my own sounds in there? And, you know, they were like, you don't need your own sounds, you know. And their stuff is great. I love it. I still have it in some of my locomotives, but I wanted to put my own sounds in there. And the RailPro gave me that option. And so I really like it. Also, hopefully maybe another day I might be able to do a tutorial on actually putting a program or what they call a project in there. But you can actually build coded programs inside that RailPro that, like, you press a button and it makes a sound, then turns on this light, then activates the switch, then turns that light on. You can write a sequential code that does all that and assign it to a button. And there's still a ton of stuff you can do in it that I haven't even tapped into yet.
Wow. Okay. Sounds good.
Now I know we had another thing you were going to show us on doing the sound files. Did you have something you wanted to show us in between that, Darrin?
Yeah, I could actually. Can you switch to my let's see, where's that?
That one?
Oop. Yeah, there you go. Okay. See what, yeah. So this is my bench cam here. Put it on the Echo, trains on. Okay. All right, that's on now.
Hey, wait,
so
wait.
I'm going
Echo trains off. Does that work?
Stop. She's not particular whose voice it is. She don't care. All right. So I'm going to turn on my handheld here, and I'm going to go to my different devices in here, and I'm going to pick my caboose here. And inside my caboose, I'm going to take this back a little ways. I'm going to try to move this camera around. So what I did inside this caboose is I used a RailPro controller. They're like $170 or $160. And I wanted a cheaper way just to put lights and some phone. It wasn't $160. And I was probably 3 times or what I paid for that caboose. So what I decided to do, they make a cheaper version for $99, but I wanted to even go cheaper than that because I'm pretty cheap. So I went to their HO handheld controller, and I wired up the lights and some pretty cool stuff in this caboose with an HO controller, and it works the same as the G scale. So what I got on here is I got my marker lights, so I can turn those on and off. I have my interior lights for the caboose. I got my cupola lights up here. I got a pretty cool guy on the front of here. I'm going to see if I can get it over there without dropping the phone. Okay. Whoop. Still connected to something. Okay. So on this side of the caboose, I got this guy over here. I ran up and put a light in his hands. So he has an actual lantern that turns on and off. Just turned my thing off. Give me 1 second here. Come on. Okay. So I got him. I'm going to turn his lantern off. Then the last thing I did is in the HO car or in the HO controller, there's actually a motor driver also. So I got this little caboose man here, and I put a motor inside on a fulcrum, and I run it out to his arm. So I can turn on what was the acceleration, deceleration, and control of the locomotive, and it actually motor so that my caboose guy can wave to you. And you can wave slow or fast, depending on how much speed you put on it. So all wrapped up in that, I got like $60, and it was kind of fun trying to get that guy to work. I tried a bunch of different methods to get his arm to move, and there's servos. There's a lot of different ideas. I just did it with a motor, and there was a motor controller in there, and so that's kind kind of a fun little project.
Somebody was asking if it has smoke in it.
I'm sorry?
Somebody was asking if it's got a smoke unit in there.
It does not, but somebody already told me that, I should put, I think MTH is what a lot of people like, those smoke units. And because it's the HO, it's got the lower amperage in it. I didn't know about how it was going to work with an HO. However, if I'm pulling from the track power, I could have it just do a relay and just strip the relay and then have that run the smoke power. So I might try that. I think that'll put the final dressing on it. So thanks for that idea.
I think you have a fan watching, Darrin.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to actually put inside the controller.
Okay.
So you can imagine all the different possibilities you can do with that.
All right. We ready to bring that up then?
Yeah, let's go with it. Before people fall asleep. All right. For the next part of our workshop, we're going to do a custom sound. And we're going to assign that sound to one of the buttons on our locomotive. So for this, if you were reading through the RailPro manual, I'll pull that up right now. They suggest that you use a program called Audacity. Audacity is a community kind of freeware program that anybody can use for free. So I came to the RailPro's manual. They actually give me a link, and it's to SourceForge. So I'm going to make a copy of that link. I'm going to pull up my browser. I'm going to paste that link in there. Now here's what I found out. When I go to SourceForge, it says here that as of way back in 2019, that this project, this Audacity software, is moved. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and find out where they moved it to. And here it brings Audacity's download page. And I am doing this on a Windows computer. So I'm going to come here and click the Audacity for Windows. And if you just let it go for a second, it'll start to download. You can see down here in the corner that it's downloading. It will give you the option to just open the file from there. I kind of like to see where it is, so I'm going to click on that and show in the folder. And that shows me in my computer exactly where it's at. And at this point here, I just double click that, tap, and it starts the installation. And before I know it, I just answer any questions it asks. And before I know it, there is an icon on my desktop called Audacity. So this is what we're going to use to format our sounds in a way that RailPro will allow. And it's very specific. They need a WAV file. They need it 44,100 hertz. It can't be stereo. It has to be mono. So I'm going to take you through a few of those steps to set that file up so that you can get it into your locomotive. So I'm going to open up Audacity. And I'm no expert at Audacity at all. I don't really do a lot of sound editing and files. I'm just going to show you the few steps I used that worked. So we're going to come here first. Now, when you have this in your computer, here is your record button. These are kind of simple, like, every kind of recording that we've ever done. So when I click that record button, anything that comes through my microphone, anything that comes through the computer, it's going to record. So that's kind of neat because I could pop out to the internet. So I'll come back to Edge. And I could come out there and I could type, I want to find some train sounds. And here Bing finds me, hey, soundbible.com tags free sound effects, train sounds. Here's one, train sound whistles. Okay, I'll click on that one. Let's see what it's got. Okay, free train sounds. Let's hear one of them. We'll come down here, see what this one sounds like. All right. And you could listen to different ones. Here's just the train rolling on the tracks. So if you wanted to record any of these sounds, you would actually kind of just pull this over, hit your record button, then hit the play. When the sound's over, or you want to stop it, you just hit this stop button right there. And your sound will come up in Audacity, and then we'll talk about what we do from there. So there's a ton of sound files out there. Just be careful when you're searching for free stuff out there. I mean, most of the free stuff comes with a free virus. So make sure you have your virus protection on before you're just randomly browsing websites and clicking on files and stuff. So I'm going to get out of the browser because I don't really need that. I want to do a custom sound with my own voice. And as annoying as my voice is to me, it'll probably be equally annoying coming out of a locomotive. So we're going to give that a try. So very easily, I could just click this, state my sound, make my sound, and then hit stop. So here we go. All aboard! And I've hit stop. Okay, so there's my sound right there. Now I could preview it. I could just hit play. All aboard! All right, I don't like it, but I'm not going to record it. So at this point, what we have is a stereo file. There's two tracks to it. There's a left track and a right track. RailPro does not like that. It does not like stereo. It wants mono. It wants on one track. Now, if I look at here, the left and the right are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter if I just delete one. So if I come right up here to this drop-down box where it says audio track and I click that, there's actually a button right here that says split stereo to mono. Basically, mono is one track. You can use that term the same, one or mono is the same thing. So we're going to click that split. Now, notice it kind of put a bar in there and it took the two off. Well, these are identical, so I only need one. It doesn't really matter which one you delete because they're identical. Where you might come in a problem is if you recorded a file that was actually recorded in stereo. So you had some stuff on the left track, some stuff on the right track. You might have some issues with this. I haven't tried that, so I don't know if that would matter or not once you split it to mono. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of this one because I don't need that track. I only need one half of the track. And now I can see the default means the way it is without you having to mess with it is 44,100 hertz at 32-bit float. That's all technical, doesn't matter, but that's what it needs to be at for RailPro to use. Now I need to save this sound out somewhere where I can get it into my RailPro software and then into my RailPro controller and then assign it to a locomotive. And you know, I got a lot of extra dead space here. There's some tools you can learn how to use to cut off this dead space. This isn't really an audio lesson, just showing you a couple quick steps how to get a sound file. So I'm going to come up here to File. Now, before, when we were saving our pictures, we would say Save. Well, in Audacity, it's not Save. It's Export. So I'm going to export as a WAV file. This is very important. This is the one it needs to be. It can't be an MP3 or an OGG. It has to be a WAV file. So I'm going to click Export as WAV file. Now it's going to ask me where do I want to put it. Well, if you remember, if we go to my PC at the C drive, when we were doing our pictures, we actually created a folder here called RailPro. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in RailPro. There happens to already be a sound in there called that. So I'm going to click on it because I want to erase that sound. and I'm going to save it. It's saying, hey, you're going to overwrite this. Are you sure? Yep, I'm pretty sure I want to overwrite that. At that point, that's it. That's all you got to do with Audacity. And now there's a sound that's sitting in on your computer that you can plug directly into the RailPro Assistant and then into your controller and assign to a button. So we're going to close Audacity. You don't need that. Now, it might ask you to save your project. I'm not creating a project here. That's more complicated than what we need. I just needed a sound converted to a WAV file at 44.1. So I'm going to say no, I don't want to save it. Okay, so since we got that going, we're going to now go to the RailPro Assistant, because we need to get that sound in here so we can get it to the controller and then into the locomotive. So what am I after? I am after a sound this time. I'm going to select over here that I want to go looking for one. Now, when we do a sound, we actually have to create it. We already have a file out there called our all aboard file, and it has the sound in it. But there's a couple other things you have to do. You first have to decide whether you want a single sound or a looping sound. I'll mention looping sound in a couple minutes, but we're just going with a single sound. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to say, where is it? So I'm going to click in this blue box so I can go out looking for it. If you remember where we put it in a C drive in a folder called RailPro, and it came right to it. But if it didn't, you could have browsed to it. And here's that file right here. So I'm going to click it. Now, the other thing I need to do, I made it a single sound. This is what the sound I want it to make. I got to give it a name. So I'm going to click up here in sound file. I'm going to just use the keyboard here. And I'm going to call it same thing as I called it when I saved it. All aboard. Let's see if I spelled board wrong. Okay. I think that's how you spell it. We're good. All right. So I'm going to hit done. Now, at this point, we can create the sound. Now, if you look over here on this side, these are sounds I've already created. So I've done some with the truck running, turning on and off, and all that. I'll talk about that with the looping sound. But I'm trying to get a nice sound file for my my goose. Again, as I mentioned in the video files, notice the CF. The CF means that that's a file that you created. The ones without those CF on the ends, that's the ones that you go out to RailPro and you download from their website. That really doesn't matter to us for what we're doing here, but when it gets into creating projects and writing some programs, it is way beyond on what we're going to be doing here. But that matters because you have to add that CF, and it's not important at this second. So I'm going to hit create sound, and there it goes. All aboard, it's in there. Now I can exit that page, and it tells me right there, 44.1, 16-bit, single channel. That is the most important. It has to be a single channel. And we're done there. We're going to exit. So now if I come here and I look for sounds, there's my new sound I made, all aboard right there. So I'm going to add that to the handheld controller, which you can see it's not plugged in right now. So in order to get it in there, I got to go turn on my handheld controller. So here it is. I'm going to turn it on. And just like we did with the pictures, this stuff's in the manual, takes you step by step. Once you get the sound where you want it into the software, it's all the same in the manual from here. So I'll just do it real quick. So we're going to go to Tools. We're going to do a software update, and we want to get stuff from the computer, the handheld, everything that's on this list right here. And you could put multiple things on this list at a time, but we're only doing one. Sounds do take a little while to upload. So notice they kind of go a little bit slow. So as we are putting the sound file on the locomotive, which is going to take a little bit, I'll flip back and talk a little bit about what a looping sound is. And we're getting close here. It's almost done. And this is real time, so I'm actually doing this right now. It's just like I would if I was going to put it on the locomotive. All right, and we're done. At this point, now I need to copy the file to a locomotive or to a project. And actually, with RailPro, it doesn't have to be a locomotive. They have project boards and stuff you can do on your layout and a lot of different stuff. So I'm going to copy the file to what? I'm going to click here and I'm going to pick that SD40 that we were working with our pictures. Click on that. Now, what do you want to put into that SD40? Well, I want to do a sound. Now, it's going to ask you what sound you want to do. I'm going to do the all aboard, and it's on its way going in there. Now, I'm going to back up just for a second. When we were creating that sound, we had the option of a single sound or a looping sound. Now, what a looping sound is you actually have to have 3 different sound files to create a looping sound. The first file is going to be, as soon as you press the button, it's going to play that file. When it's done playing that file, it's going to play the next file, and it's just going to keep playing the next file over and over and over and over and over again until you press the button again. At that point, it's going to play a finishing file. So, let's see, why can't we connect here? Let's try that again. Sometimes if you're too far away from the locomotive, you might get that, but I'm going to try again. That should have connected. I'm going to move the computer a little bit closer and see what happens. So as I was saying about the looping sound, so think about if you had a project like a steam donkey, on your layout somewhere, and you wanted to press a button to have it fire up, and then then it's just going to run, and then you have a button that's going to shut it down, and it plays the shutdown sound. So that's kind of where you would get into a looping sound. And it looks like we're having a little bit of problem uploading this, so it's going. Let's see. Now sounds, if you're doing a long sound, it can take, I've had it take 10 minutes to upload a sound. Remember in this case, it was a pretty short sound. I did have a lot of dead space on the end, which I would have definitely shut that off or cut that off of the sound file, because I don't want it just to play nothing for a while. Might as well completely shut down or finish complete, I guess. All right, so hopefully it's going to work this time, and we're almost there. Oh, it says right here, I didn't even notice that. Distance between product must be 2 feet or less. Maybe I was just a little bit farther than 2 feet because it's not too far away from me. RailPro does a lot of nice little questions answered right where you would need them. Because, that would be the case. You're thinking, why won't it go in there? I can control it from, 50, 100 feet away. Why can't I upload the file? So there we go. We're good to go. At this point, that is now inside the locomotive. We don't need the RailPro software anymore. We didn't need that even after we uploaded into the handheld. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to exit this page. And now I need to copy that file. Oh, that's what we did already. Copied it to the locomotive. I'm going to exit out of there. Now I'm going to go to my locomotive. Open it up. And now I want to mess with the sounds and all that. So I'm going to go to Tools. Next page after Tools. Next page. And the third page after Tools brings you to your button arrangement on your handheld controller. So button number 1 is a brake here. So I'm going to go next. I don't want to brake. Dynamic brakes, that's fine. I'm going to keep moving through. I'm going to go to page 2. Page 2 has a sander on it. Sanding sound. And when I play that sound, whoops, I didn't want to take a picture of it. But when I play that sound, it just sounds like a shh, shh, and that's it. So I don't see myself using that anymore. So I'm going to use this button and replace it with that sound I created, my all aboard sound. So I'm going to click on, instead of sanding, I'm going to click right on there. It's going to bring up my list. Now this is that case I told you about earlier. The sound I want is probably on the next page. So when I go next page, it looks like it goes back and then finally kicks in. That was actually pretty quick. Sometimes it hangs there for a little bit. So here's my all aboard sound. I'm going to click that. And now that sound is assigned to that button. I would probably want to change my picture. Let's see, what do we got? We got any good pictures for somebody talking? All right, this guy looks like a guy here. Well, maybe a conductor or something. So we'll click on him. Now, I also want to change the name. I don't want it to say sanding, so I'm going to click on edit text, and I'm going to put, let's see, all. Let's see, RD. Yep, and I'm going to enter that. So now I got that. It's all good. It's a momentary button. Just going to press it once. It's going to do the sound. All good there. So I'm going to exit that page. Hit save. Always want to save after you make changes. One thing to keep in mind with the RailPro is it will not save if there's a sound playing currently. So you can't have a sound playing when it does that. Don't know why, but it's just something to note. They mention that in the manual. So we're going to exit that page. Now we're going to try out our new sound. So that's on page 2. So I'm going to go to the next page, try my sound. All right, so that's how we put a custom sound in, make it, save it, use Audacity to convert it into what we want, and then bring it into our system, put it to our locomotive, assign it to a button, program it. All that stuff's in the manual pretty good. It's just a few steps in Audacity that they don't talk much about, and so I wanted to make sure you guys know how to do that. All right, thank you very much. All right, that was it. Thank you, guys.
That was very informative. Thank you, Darrin. Once again, seems like there's many layers to, and actually, I saw someone in the chat some time ago saying about, it seemed like there was a lot of computer work involved with RailPro, but I guess we should point out what you were showing us is more fine tuning things that you were doing, like to just use RailPro in general. It's not all of what you're showing us, right?
That is correct. You don't have to do this stuff. This is just takes it to the next level of customization. So just for the people that want to go that extra bit, I know, there's a lot of people, they talk about their control system. I want to make my locomotive go forward or backwards. I want to ring a bell and sound a horn, and that's all I want it to ever do. So yeah, a debate would be like, well, there are cheaper systems for that can do just, and if that's what you're happy with, that's the one you should go with. I would highly recommend it. If you like to get gadgety and you like color pictures and touch screens and all that kind of stuff, RailPro offers a lot. I've talked to their designers a little bit, and they have stuff in the works for the future. There's even wires on their RailPro board that are not currently used, that they have plans for. They didn't tell me what those plans were, but they said they have plans for them. And they are some input wires. So possibly other activation devices could trigger different things that happen in your locomotive or your project.
Nice. Let's see here. I was looking to see if anybody had any other questions in there.
Somebody was asking to see his train wall.
The train room?
Train
wall.
Well, actually, yeah, Darrin is in a train room. He has trains running around him, or can rather. No, someone was asking to see your train wall, I think.
Yeah.
I believe it was Crazy Train, was it not?
Yes. And Taya was asking, do you install RailPro directly into your locomotive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There is options. I've seen some really interesting stuff people have done, especially on budget. They have actually used a RailPro car, kind of like a battery car. Locomotives actually have a plug that plugs into that. All the RailPro stuff is in one car. Then they want to use a different locomotive. They just change the assignment inside that RailPro board and plug in a different locomotive. So if you don't run more than one locomotive, that's a real budget conscious way of doing it.
And somebody was asking, how does CVP compare with RailPro?
That would be AirWire, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
CVP.
Mm-hmm.
It's I was a big Air fan. I think I like RailPro better. One of the things I had with my CVP was I had a lot of disconnect between the locomotive. I had a lot of interference. The frequency that they're on, I've had places where my locomotive wouldn't work because I don't know what was interfering with it, but it had problems. So the functionality, the thing that RailPro has over is it does have a sound module already in it, whereas if you buy a CVP product, you have to set it up. Then you have to put a soundboard with additional cost. But again, I was a big AirWire fan for a long time, and I still think it's good. But I think the RailPro for just a few dollars more, because I think CVP for their boards is like 140 or 130 or something like that, and you can get the RailPro for 160. So for 20 more, you get that all in one package. The hand controller for RailPro is cheaper. It is, I'm sorry, for AirWire, the hand controller is cheaper. So you have an initial investment of a hand controller for RailPro that's a little bit more costly.
And it looks like there's a couple of people asking the same question about what is the track voltage requirement for RailPro? I mean, what's the operational range of a RailPro?
I believe it typically said 20 volts, up to 20. I don't know. I don't know if Cody's online. He might be able to throw in the exact amount of that. Actually, I think he did 14.8 there. I run 14.8. That's the batteries that I run, and I run 20 volts on my track power. So in every one of my RailPro projects, I put a switch in to switch from track to battery. So I can run it on either one.
Okay. That's good to know.
Someone was actually asking to see your caboose again, Darrin. I think specifically the how you had the brakeman waving on the other end.
How it actually works?
Yeah. Are you able to show that or no?
Yeah, I can show you a little bit. I can explain it a little bit. The problem is, in order for that caboose to work, I had to have the screws in it, so I can't take the lid off right now and show you the actual inner workings. But I can show you for sure how it works. I'm going to turn it around here. You want to switch to my bench cam?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to turn it around here. and I'm going to try to get it close, but you might not be able to see it. But do you see the little fish wire right here?
Oh, yeah.
That's an 18-pound test fishing wire. So what it does is it runs down and runs through this little hole right here. I actually drove it in the wrong place, so that's why it doesn't go straight down and in, but that was a mistake I made. But on the other side of that, it's just connected to a washer. Let me see. Flip back to my hands here. All right, here we go. Everything's backwards. Okay, so there's actually a little motor in there, and it's just kind of like an HO gauge motor, but it has a gear reduction box on it, so it turns kind of slow like this. So as it turns like that, it has a washer on it, and so when it's up here and goes backwards and under, his arm goes down. When it goes back up, because the weight of his arm drops down automatically, and then it pulls it back up. So it's actually just doing assist. Kind of how you're when you pedal your bicycle.
Okay.
It's the back spoke.
So
that's kind of how it works. I kind of would have liked to show you the inside, but I didn't think of that ahead of time.
That's perfectly all right. You had plenty to show us tonight.
And I think Frank is asking for a suggestion on what type of power pack should he use or buy for layout. To use on RailPro.
What power pack, like transformer or battery?
Yeah, the track power.
Well, I have I use an old MRC. It's 20 amp. If you're gonna do if you're track power, there's actually some pretty inexpensive transformers that you can buy that are kind of designed for computers and stuff. Do you remember those, Andrew, what I'm talking about? Just the silver boxes?
Yeah.
You got one there? They're actually, they're actually pretty cheap, and they do a nice filtered DC to the track. And if you're using battery power remote, that's it right there. If you're using battery power or remote control, I'm sorry, if you're using remote control, you don't need a forward and reverse power on it. So those are kind of cheap. I don't know, maybe Andrew can throw a link or the actual name of what those are.
I don't have a link handy for it at the second, but it's I usually get them from Amazon, and it's just a Meanwell 350 watt power supply is what it is, 24 volt. I wasn't thinking about we were going to have a question about that, or I would have had a link for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was a good question.
No, that's all right.
But I also have a Bridgeworks transformer. So if you want to say what is the best transformer out there, I really highly recommend Bridgeworks, but lots of money. Really good.
It looks like Crazy Train was actually asking to see the brakeman actually working on that caboose again.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to see how you had it set up, but he wanted to see it functioning again as well.
Okay, yeah, I can do that real quick. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to grab my RailPro control. Let's see, he's over here. Zoomed in on him. Turn on my RailPro controller. Pick my locomotive or my project, my caboose. All right, there he goes. So if I move around here like this.
Okay.
You can kind of see that wire pulling down the arm. And that's a little piece of a paper clip that I super glued to it and bent it over. And then I painted it blue to match his arm so you wouldn't see it very much.
You know,
I got him 50% there. Give him a happy wave. That's his fast.
That could be a handy workaround for when Dakman falls asleep. You know, I could just remotely work a RailPro, and then Dakman would just sit there and wave at us. You know.
Yeah, just have his arm hooked up to something. You can trigger it with a RailPro. No problem. I'll work on that.
Yeah, we had weekend at Bernie's. We can have weekend at Dakman's. We'll just have to get you some sunglasses.
Perfect.
Did nobody wants to see my
other person?
What's that, Darrin?
Did your other person click on?
No.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure.
Sorry, I think we're past our time anyway.
Yeah.
I wish I had some more hours to talk, but maybe someday.
I was gonna have Ken Miller just come on to talk about the convention again. I don't know if he got tied up or not, but I'll throw it back up on the scroll on the bottom just to remind everybody that the National Guard and Railway Convention is coming up May 31st to June 5th in good grief, Nashville, Tennessee. And when I last talked to Ken, it sounded like a lot of the reservations and stuff are actually starting to fill up for them as they're getting closer. So it sounded like it's shaping up to be a pretty good convention, and it seems like they're having a good bit of interest in it. So I guess that's what I'll say about that. I don't know if Ken had any other details he was going to be able to share with us or not, but he may have gotten tied up. He was going to join us at the end to talk about it, but I'll try and have him on again before the convention comes around to give us an update.
Kyle's saying he needs to go to bed.
Kyle needs to go to bed?
Yeah, he says he's sleepy.
Well, I just want to say thanks again, guys. Thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it. It was fun.
No, thank you, Darrin.
Yeah.
You provided us with a lot of good information. I think a lot of people will find that helpful.
Great.
So let's see here. Anything you want to add, Mr. Dakman?
The only other thing I wanted to add is I did see quite a few questions about the East Coast Large Scale Train Show. The only thing I can suggest is, go on our website, go on our Facebook page. I really don't know any more than what's been posted there as far as what vendors are going to be there, or what clubs are going to be there. I don't know those questions. So I'm sorry to say you'll have to refer to those pages to find out, what's going on. And hope everybody has a good night. Hope they enjoyed the show. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Darrin or Andrew.
I did throw back up there for Darrin, of course, to remind people that their flea market July 10th is going to be coming up one last time.
Yeah, I'd really like to see as many people want to come. It'd be nice to talk to you. We left a lot off on the layout when we showed the video and stuff. There's a lot more to see if you actually come and check it out.
Alrighty.
So,
yeah. Sure. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a good and safe night, and we'll say good night to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Stay tuned for our next show. We'll have an announcement up for it probably in about a week. So good night, everybody.
Good night.